This is your weekend market review for Sunday, August 11th, 2024. Let's go.
Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well.
This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka the Trading Agent, and this is your weekend market review for Sunday, August 11th, 2024. Hopefully you're having a great weekend. An interesting week last week as we had some up and some down. Pretty strong moves either way, post VIX spiking to 60. Now we know coming up this week, there's a lot of economic data. You've got PPI on Tuesday, CPI on Wednesday, retail sales, a bunch of other economic data, some building stuff on Friday, and it's an options expiration. How fun! So if you're familiar with such, you know it's going to be choppy, sloppy. The action can be rather frustrating at times as they try to absolutely smash the VIX or reduce the implied volatilities in stocks by keeping them very tight and narrow ranges with gap ups that go nowhere, gap ups that go down, chop, all sorts of fun stuff. And so as we know, the week usually goes one direction, one part, and then another the next part of the week. So be careful. Again, if you're new to the channel, check out the Discord room, the link in the description below. This is the kind of stuff we talk about in the Discord room, but also have videos on this. I mean, where is it now? I apologize, I didn't pop it right up, but there is one on options expiration and what to expect. I'm telling you, there's so many great videos here. A lot of folks check them out and others have not. And if you're new, here you go. Let me know I can help. As we always talk about, boom, back to basics, options expiration, aka ChopX. Also, too, follow on the Twitter, posting tons of trades always, keeping people updated of what we are seeing, what we're thinking. As I talked about, the economy's slowing. It's just a matter of how the markets are going to react. So if you have any questions, again, don't hesitate to reach out. Use the Calendly link in the description. Always here to help. Also, check out the website. This is the goal, folks. Turn profits into properties and passive income. Again, if you are making any moves in the real estate market and you're not hitting me up, I will take it personal because, again, especially we've talked and worked on things together and you're not, why wouldn't you? Again, the reason why I say this is because, again, work with a professional. Work with someone to help you out. You get two agents for the price of one if I help you out because I can refer you out. Let's make sure we create the best plan possible. Especially if you're selling, it's going to be a struggle. If you're looking to buy, you have endless opportunities to lowball, negotiate down your closing costs, negotiate down rates, all sorts of things. And if you're looking to finally invest in real estate, it is time. Think about creative finance as well. So again, I appreciate all the love, support, generous donations. You guys are amazing. Hit the like button, notification bells, again, because we do live chats once or twice a week. So we know going into the next meeting, this is fluctuating all over the place. It's around 50%, 50-50, whether it's going to be a 1/4 rate hike or a 50 basis point. Again, the worse things are, the more likely a 50 basis point. And as we've talked about, things are getting worse, not better. And I think that's the hardest part for a lot of people is they think the economy is just strong. In certain areas, it definitely has some strength. Again, because all the low-wage employees getting endless business, which is kind of sad for those who are trying to stay afloat. And then you've got a lot of other things going on with real estate, commercial real estate. We know government spending is out of control. We know like the next wave of all of this stuff is going to have some issues. And then you have Trump basically telling Powell not to touch rates. So, I mean, you've got a lot of little things going here. Japan, China issues, global instability. Just be careful out there. It's a trader's market. That's what I was saying. It is a trader's market. Oil, as we've talked about, I like oil long term, but I'm going to let it play out, meaning I think demand destruction, slower economies. Again, if it holds up because of geopolitical risk, I have no problem being a little late. Natural gas, as we talked about, holding levels around here makes sense, chopping around. I personally have no really desire to play it until the blowout. That was the blowout on Monday with that VIX 60. It didn't really feel like it because it felt like a capitulation where people just were like, yeah, it's not that bad, right? Like it didn't feel like absolute panic. That's my gut instinct on that. So we'll see what happens over the next couple of days, weeks. Dollar 200-day seems to be holding this mid-25s. Here was that Monday action, gap back, chopping around. TLT, love the action on Friday. We talked about the pulling back after hitting upside near-term resistance. Cool, backs up, back test the trend line, access like the 8-day, back test, support. Gaps up on Friday, even though the volume's light in the oversold position, it rallies back, closes above. Again, I think this is setting up for a bigger move to the upside. How much? Again, we'll play it level by level. I mean, I know the next one would be around 108, 110. Just be careful. Again, trade around your positions, no matter what it is. The VIX, nice beat down on a Friday. Rather impressive they did it on a Friday, considering that most times than not in the summer, the Fridays are really scary. Again, probability-based trading says you expect to pull back in the market in the VIX to rise on the Friday, but we didn't get it. Again, I think there were some headlines about some of the global instability stuff like Iran and Israel slowing down some of the roll. So again, we'll see how long that lasts. VIX got hit hard pretty much on Friday. So watching the 20-day and this gap in this area. So keep an eye on it. SPY, again, more aggressive. I wouldn't say aggressive, but rallied and closed at the 8-day. We talked about filling the gap, the 100-day, this area. You go from oversold back to overbought pretty quickly, in my opinion. Now, again, depends on how you define the stochastics, but any trend, right? Like you go up big, you pull back, right? You go up, pull back, you drop, counter, you drop, you counter. And remember, the bigger down potentially can lead to bigger up, but also can lead to chop, right? And flat action. Again, we've seen it in stocks if you've been following the channel. Again, I appreciate all you guys. QQQQ 450 close 8-day gap. Could it fill this gap up here, 100-day? I mean, this is all in play now, and this is where defining your risk and layering in is very important, because if you shorted the market or even went long at the wrong spots, is the risk reward in your favor? Like, that's the really big question you have to ask yourself. IWM continues to lag, 50-day chopping around. This was hard because, again, I thought the market would pull back on Friday. It really didn't get much. Kind of held up. DIA, same thing, kind of chopping. Again, we like gold long term. I just don't trust it. Your guess is good as mine in the near term. Again, the volatility is going to be pretty impressive. And when we say that, I mean thinking that metals, miners could be all over the place. And if the market pulls back, silver will get crushed. Typically, miners will pull back. Gold can hold around, but the best opportunity will be when the Feds actually pivot. And so it might be another couple weeks of just chopping around. GDX 100-day. Again, we've talked about this though. Biggest problem is when the Feds decide to pivot and they freak out, the market freaks out too. And that's where I think you've seen a lot of insiders. If people go think about it, like the insiders selling, whether it's Bezos, Buffett, you name it, they're unloading for a reason. It's just a lot of people stay bullish, but again, follow the operators. Miners, again, chopping around. AEM, we like this one long term. Seems to be holding up the best. AG, this one's been not holding up at all. Coming back to recent lows. Newmont, again, this should be probably in the 70 or 80 range. Seems to be holding this 20-day. Again, all these names, I like past two. Just waiting for pullbacks. Waiting for the max potential action. Again, because these big bases, the first breakout, there's typically a strong pullback because it's like a shake and bake, essentially. So just keep on it. Taiwan Semi, again, they had their earnings month over month, I think they had earnings last week, especially on Friday. Earnings were up 47% year over year. Not surprising. I mean, their numbers were pretty fucking nuts at one point. I'd be watching up here real tight. Micron, again, semis in my opinion are cooked, but it doesn't mean they can't play the oversold rally game and chop around. This is where it gets hard, right? These names seem to have gotten beaten, seem to be due for a bounce, but they could play this game where they just chop around before the next up move. Again, if you've got NVIDIA, I mean, I say this all the time, it's cooked. The top is in. Big boys are selling. Everything's priced in for the future. $3 trillion market cap with the basis of what they can make is all based on the idea that they'll be the best forever. And we know how it works in the chip sector. There's always going to be competition's coming. And when they do, margins come down. It becomes almost a commodity. Again, NVIDIA might make the best now, but who will make the best next? SMCI, again, we like this stock down at some point. I think in the 450s. I mean, I have no desire to get involved in it early. Intel, trash. We talked about Intel is trash. We talked about Dead Cat Rally. I said watch the 100-day. You got it. Now what? Then the earnings came. It's squadoosh. It should be capitulating near term. It should probably chop around, should bounce. But if the market gets whacked, I don't know what the downside is on this thing. 12. It's just be careful. SMH, same kind of thing. Oversold rally. Here you go. 8, 10-day, maybe 100-day. I don't know. Gap fill. Your guess is good mine. This is where, again, the whole purpose of this is to bring up, these are stocks are falling. This is the stuff you need to be paying attention to. Adobe, we talked about this one, looking for rallies to short. Holds the 100-day, probably 200-day gap fill to 546. Apple closed stronger than I thought it would on Friday. Shit happens. Above the 50-day, 8 and 10-day. It's hard to say and again, this is why we talk about don't bring a ruler to trading. I mean, next would have to be somewhere in this 220 to 217. Be careful. That's all I can say. Amazon, again, Bezos couldn't sell fast enough at 200. Drops on earnings, watching the 200-day 169 area. Meta, pretty strong close. Again, buddies in town didn't really do too much after Friday, after the open. Kind of had some puts that I bought for cheap Friday lottos. They lost, and I was like, not going to play anything else. Watching this area on Meta. CRM, we talked about this one topping out. Now it's, again, playing the game, choppiness. This is what's so hard about trading, and this is why it's a trader's market. If you want in and out every day, makes sense. Just watch the levels, man. It would be a gift if it got back up to 285 or 265. I'm sorry. Guggenheim. This one was interesting because it didn't really get much pesto pop, right? Then it goes a little higher on Friday. Watch the 20-day curling down, 100-day. I mean, sometimes you see upgrades after a stock has peaked because brokers have missed. That's kind of what I'm watching on some of these names. Keep that in mind. Like, brokers totally miss these up moves, and there's some that are going, oh, okay, well, we got to upgrade it. Those are the ones that I'd be very excited to see the pump, because those will get pumped and dumped. NDAQ, again, love the short up here. MicroStrategy, 10-for-1 split, holds the 200-day. Kind of Bitcoin dependent, right? Bitcoin's middle of the range. If this starts leading up, Bitcoin probably gets back up. So 180 to 100, I mean, it's a huge range. It's great for trading. Netflix and chill, spill, pill, whatever. You're at some levels that make sense. Oversold rally, just patience on that one. Roblox, we talked about this one falling in the 40 level. Pan W, can have strength. Love the stock long term. We talked about this. Interesting reaction on Friday. Again, one of those things where people are like, oh, you missed the bottom. Okay. I mean, it's always possible. It is always possible. But this also could be a big chop range, because this is what's so hard about buying stocks when you're anticipating bigger down moves at some point. You just kind of watch them play up and down. And if it messes with your emotions, then just be patient. Again, be patient. Don't watch it if it really, you know what I mean? If it makes it feel like you have to do something. Got to be careful with that. Tesla. Again, personally, I don't think this thing has much value here, based on all the the metrics of it. I mean, we like the stock later at lower prices. It's just a trading vehicle. 200-day, 100-day. I don't know. This is where you got to just gotta be honest with yourself. I don't know, and if you don't know, you don't trade. Just that simple. Insight. Again, I like this company long term. I think they get bought out. I'd be waiting for the mid 50s. McDonald's. We talked about this one. Chopping, popping, flopping all over the place with earnings. 200-day. Look at those traps. Not easy. Just keep an eye on it. DKNG, again, we talked about sports betting toast near term. Olympics is over. It's doing the stair steps down. So it really needs to take out 28 before you get down to lower prices. Airbnb. Talked about this post earnings, like gap down. This is a big move. Probably going to consolidate here. Said I even thought there's probably upside if the market holds up. Looking like it. Costco. The beast of the beast, said watch the 50-day. It's over it. Now, again, could this be a trap going into next week? Just, again, keep an eye on it. Starbucks. Crap coffee. Crap company. Got competition coming endlessly. Just watching. Breaks out 72s, you're done. Federal Express. We talked about the head and shoulders top on this little guy. Now it's coming down. Probably a little oversold near term. That candle was pretty harsh. I'd watch the 100-day, this 270 areas. Caterpillar, been holding up, right? Got over the 50-day, back over. It's been trading in a range. It's really hard to tell near term where the next spot would be. Probably 350, but it also could just be a 20-day rider. I don't know. This one's going to be tricky. You're going to have to watch this one closely to find it. Deere has earnings this week, Thursday, at the range lows. I mean, I think their business, from what I've heard, is slowing. But this thing is just a big chop zone. This is what's hard. If you want to play the range low with a short squeeze into earnings, that makes sense. But if the bottom breaks that 340 level, see you later. Nucor, chopping around, range lows. Again, we like global growth commodity names at some point when they start throwing all the liquidity back at the market. X, again, just chopping around. VALE, I mean, 9 or 10 is just incredibly cheap on this stock. But doesn't mean it can't get there. We talked about this potentially bottoming near term. There's a candle down there if you see it. So we'll see. I mean, maybe 20-day. Just again, all these names, I'm just watching. We'll flip through them. Arrow, we like copper. I just don't think they're going anywhere. CCJ, again, the never-ending. Goldman Sachs upgraded the high, waiting for them to downgrade the lows. CF has been holding up better in some of the other ag names, breaking out. Mosaic, bottoming. I don't know. These names have been just cooked. And NTR had some big volume down here. Worth watching, right? We've talked about this name. Doji, tight volume at the low. Makes a new low, trapping, but look at the wicks. That thing might be due to bounce. Due to bounce. Any questions on that one? I might have to put in, again, NTR looks really interesting. Not that I'm like long term, but for a trade, like getting a little momentum. AA, same kind of thing. Here you go. Novice gap at the bottom. Rallies back. 200-day. Financials. Holding up. Chopping around. As we talked about, they carry all the financial risk. If you're not paying attention to these levels, then I don't know what you're doing. We like FAS here around 10. Shit, it's at 972. Keep an eye on it. Keep an eye on it. Because again, if JP Morgan, like, they're not buying back their stock. Jamie Dimon's like, we're not buying back our stock at these levels. So why would you buy the stock, right? It's such a gain. Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, Bank of America. I mean, all these names. I mean, Buffett's selling fast enough. I mean, look at the capitulation. He's waiting to sell more on pops. That's how it works. Folks are like, oh, do you think he's selling today? It's like, no, he doesn't sell lows. He's selling at the highs. Goldman bouncing around. Again, Carey, we talked about being utter trash after squeezing up. Look at that. Squeeze up. Hits the top of the no doubt fail zone. Now we're just back testing. Again, 50-day chopping around. XBI, we talked about these baby bios. I mean, big and choppy. You got to be careful on it. And again, housing index to me is just silly. Whoever's watching this, I mean, it looked like it peaked out. Now it's just basing here at the 150-day cross, which again tells you a lot, because if the housing needs to start picking up, if you want to trust the market, I don't trust it at all. I mean, again, you see it in the housing market. Even if rates came down, people are interested, but there's so much inventory, y'all. It's hard right now, especially if you don't trade well. You're not doing the things right. When I say doing things right, meaning like just not involved in the market correctly. So you got oil now popping up here, hitting some levels. You got UNG, as we've talked about. Not a big fan of this fund here. Natural gas sucks at these levels. Again, especially for this ETF. If you're going to play it, the best way to do it is wait for the KOLD again, pop into the 80s, drop back down in the 60s. It looks good. If you took that trade, I think near term, again, I wouldn't expect too much. XOP, we talked about this again, holding the levels. 120s, crucial, bouncing, oversold. If Trump is looking like he's doing better, you have to anticipate that, again, I think oil and gas names will hold up better. We had a few more here. CVE. This one's big, choppy range. Again, if you like oil and gas names, you see how these things trade in big, choppy ranges after large moves and consolidations. Just wait for the range lows. When they throw the baby out with the bathwater, that's what you're looking for. ExxonMobil, this one's been holding up around the range highs for a long time. It's hard to trust a breakout, potentially, but if it goes, it goes. We've talked about the gasoline names, chopping around, big, choppy, sloppy range. Again, Valero looks better than MPC. Valero is not as European-centric as MPC. This thing's been fucking burned. Last few, Occidental. Again, Buffett just selling the shit out of this. Covered calls. He loves these big, choppy trade zones. People don't understand it. He will accumulate as much stock as possible over the next probably 2 to 3 years like he has and going forward, but he will sell puts, sell calls, use that cash to buy more stock. When it's ready, it's ready. Nothing else to do. EQT and other, again, these oil and gas names, big-ass, choppy ranges. After big moves, let them consolidate. And last but not least, Flex LNG. I think will be big-time natural gas exporters. The company's got 11% dividend. We know what's going on. Congress is accumulating, but they're not in a rush to get this thing moving. So Again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. Hopefully you had a great trading week and another good one coming up. Again, a lot of economic data and options expiration. We will see you in the Discord room. Peace.